Hey, my friends, I want to talk about going back up on your benzo briefly here. Now, so many of you come to me and say, Coach, I got down to, let's say, 2 milligrams of Valium, and I really slipped into a crisis. I've been stuck in fight or flight for months. I can't taper any further. I don't know what to do. I think I'm going to go back up on my dose. And then some of you will say, I actually did try going back up. Maybe I went up from 2 milligrams of Valium to 3 for a day. Or oftentimes I hear it even less than that. People will say, oh, I bumped up my Klonopin or my Ativan, by a crumb. I mean, we're talking about a minute little dose. And a lot of these people are reporting things like, I came down from 1 milligram of Klonopin, got down to, like 0.1 or 0.25, and then hit crisis, and then tried a 0.35, let's say, for, I don't know, 1 or 2 days, usually just one day. And then you guys say, oh my God, it didn't work. It made things worse. And I want to tell you, because this is a real concern, if you're going to go back up, first off, you cannot expect to come down from 1 milligram of Klonopin to 0.25 and then take 0.35 for one day and expect that to do some kind of amazing thing for your anxiety. It's just simply not going to do that. And for a couple of reasons. It's not to say that you couldn't go up by a smidge, a little bit. So if you come back down to 0.25 from 1 milligram of Klonopin, and who's to say, yeah, you might be able to bump it up to 0.35 or 0.5 and get some relief, but it's not going to happen in one day, right? It will not happen in one day, and for multiple reasons. One, it's just not enough meds. Two, it's like you're trying to put out a forest fire with a wet, napkin. It's not going to happen. It's just too little too soon. Now, my advice to most people, if you're going to go back up and try that experiment to stabilize, you have to give it, 3-4 weeks. You cannot do it, not even in a week. It's not enough. So I hope you can understand that, and I know you might be thinking, well, before when I used to take, if I had a panic attack, I could just pop my Klonopin at that dose and boom, it was amazing. Well, first off, you're not at that dose anymore. And we're not talking about a fleeting coming and going of a panic attack or anxiety. We're talking about a limbic system that has slid into crisis mode. I mean, it's quite literally locked in fight or flight. So that little piece is not going to do much. And this is the same for sleep meds. People start to come off their Ambien or something, and then they're not sleeping. They go into fight or flight mode. They're in a really bad place, and then they say, oh my God, I tried to updose or include a little more Ambien one night. It didn't work. Well, of course it's not going to work. Your limbic system is designed to override it. So you have to bring down that anxiety. And it takes time. You have to bring down hyperarousal. And it's not just about the meds. As anyone that follows my work knows, I talk a lot about holistic methods and how to show the limbic system and the amygdala that we're safe. And by doing so, it will release its grip. It will then start to relax and stop pumping us full of all those fight or flight chemicals, right? So again, if you're in a place where you've come down and you think you've tried to go back up a smidge, for one, you may need a bigger dose. But even before I would tell you to increase the dose, I would say if you're going to go down this road, you have to give it time. It takes weeks. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of people that have tried to go up just a little fragment. It didn't work. They panic, but let's be honest, they didn't expect it to work, right? It was kind of a long shot to them. And in a way, they're so afraid that they know that they're damaged beyond repair and everything is just completely hopeless, that to them, running that experiment was almost like a confirmation bias. It was just to say, see, I knew that wouldn't work. Bam, I am really screwed. I am really in bad shape. Even going up didn't help. But again, you don't know that because, first off, you probably didn't take enough to be therapeutic. And secondly, you didn't give it enough time. So my message again to you guys, if you're going to go back up to stabilize, and sometimes that's needed, right? I don't like the benzo coaches and the information that just keeps telling you to white knuckle through a complete crisis, meltdown, nervous breakdown, right? These are the people that go on to self-harm. These are the people that manifest unbelievable worse mental health and mental illness conditions. But if you find yourself in this impasse, like, I just cannot go down anymore, I need to stabilize, I've tried holding, that doesn't seem to do the trick, maybe I came down too fast, Maybe I didn't have any skill sets I was building or any other things around the situation, support, etc. Then consider my advice. If you're going to go back up a little bit, first off, you want to walk it back up. So if you came down from 1 milligram Klonopin to 0.25 and you think, oh my God, I got to stabilize, you likely don't need to go back up to 1 or higher. Try going up to 0.35, 0.45, 0.5, but give it a couple weeks, at least give it 2 weeks and see what happens. It's the collective, it's going to be a collective process of day after day having that extra little bit of benzo in there to kind of help bring down that hyperarousal. And once things start to work, it'll kind of snowball from there. It'll get better and better. But please understand, your anxiety, your fear, your hyperarousal, your panic, your fight or flight locked mode that you're in, perhaps, it's all working against us. It's going to make those meds feel, less and less potent. And then, unfortunately, being in the benzo community, you'll start to tell yourself, I have bind, I have neurological damage, and you think you know what all this is based on a bunch of other people. But, as I've often shared, I'm kind of the odd man out here because I just see it as a lot of mostly nonsense. It's a bunch of hysterical people, a bunch of panic-driven, ruminating people kind of amplifying each other, taking advice from mostly people who don't have med degrees, who don't have psychology degrees. It's Bob the builder and Patty the barber telling us, giving us mental health advice, telling us you can't take an antidepressant and you can't do this and you can't do that. Fear is your greatest enemy right now. And I know it's hard to wrap your head around it. And some of you shake your head. Oh, he doesn't get it. I get it. Fear is your greatest enemy. Believe me, fear is your greatest enemy. Learn to bring down your hyperarousal. Yes, there's chemical withdrawal. Yes, it's causing a fear signal. Yes, it's working against you. But your rumination, your fears, the things you've believed have sent a signal to your limbic system and essentially has communicated, we are floating in the ocean, surrounded by sharks, miles away from shore, and it's just a matter of time before we die. That's it. We are waiting to die, right? That's the signal you guys are sending, many of us anyway, and myself included at one point. It is this hopelessness, this we are waiting to perish. And the limbic system is going to hear that, and it is going to go into overdrive trying to protect you. It's a very big difference from saying, I think I might be in danger. I think I'm trying to outrun the bear versus I am cornered, surrounded, the bear's mauling me. That's it. I'm finished. It's just a matter of time. And so the greater the danger, the greater the escalation and response of the limbic system, right? And so I see that so much. I cannot even begin to tell you guys how much I can see fear running wild and just catching on like wildfire all through the benzo community, which is why so many of my clients, once they get off all these forums, within a month, they report significant improvements because they're not constantly feeding the bear, aka their fearful amygdala. So just consider some of these things. If you're going to go back up, and sometimes it is necessary. Don't believe the people that say you can't go back up. That's not true. Don't believe the people that say, that you can never stabilize. That's not true. I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people do that. They've come down too fast or hit a rocky patch, or maybe the circumstances around their situation was bad. They held or they increased just a little bit. They gave it a month or two. They worked on things holistically, bringing their hyperarousal down, addressing some of their symptoms. Maybe it was their sleep. Maybe it was family situations, whatever. Things started to stabilize, and then they were able to taper off successfully. So sometimes you do have to take a step back to go forward. So just consider that. And if you're going to go up again, please hear me. You cannot take a baby little pinch of a dose and run that experiment for, 5 hours or 1 day and then come up with the conclusion that, no, see, it doesn't work for me. And I'll add one more piece to this. If you do try that and you feel more anxious, do not be so quickly to convince yourself that it's because, the benzo stopped working and now I'm having a paradoxical effect. No, it might be another explanation here. You might have convinced your limbic system that you're taking poison. Think about the words you use. Think about how you describe the situation. So if you're conveying to your limbic system, I'm taking poison and I'm trying to slowly taper off this poison, and then I increase the poison, well, what's going to happen? Of course there's going to be anxiety. But not only that, you have amygdala kind of conditioned fear response patterns that you've conditioned through the benzo community, because 500 people have probably told you that you can't go up. Oh my God, what are you doing? So you even trying to go up is just a complete last ditch effort to try to save yourself. But in the back of your mind, you're thinking, this isn't going to work. I know it's not going to work. I know it's going to be worse. You're so anxious to even try to do it that of course that's going to bring a spike of anxiety, and then you're going to interpret that spike of anxiety as, see, I knew it didn't work. I'm doomed. Hey everyone, I'm Coach Powers, and I'm excited to announce the launch of my new online Benzo Recovery School. The school launched with Module 1, and will have a total of 4 modules, each module with a dozen or more video lessons. Here are some contents in Module 1. This creates the basis for my recovery program. If you know anything about my approach to benzo recovery, you know I'm a bit different than other benzo coaches in that I do not subscribe to the lay and pray model of recovery. Instead, I believe benzo injury is a kind of neurological injury that requires neurological rehabilitation. This neurological rehabilitation encompasses learning how to access our good chemistry while also reducing the so-called bad chemistry, cortisol and adrenaline, and also learning how to lull down our hypervigilant limbic system. This includes learning techniques in CBT, DBT, mindfulness therapy, and neuroplasticity building. Now, I've studied clinical psychology for the last 15 years of my life, and my benzo recovery program encompasses the same things that I use to make my own recovery after a 10-year, 40 milligram Valium dependence. My recovery program observes 4 stages of recovery with 3 tiers of development. In fact, my stages are all focused on development. This makes them different than the 3 obvious stages of recovery, which include the pre-taper, the taper, and post-taper. Instead, my stages serve as a kind of developmental roadmap, with each stage serving as a bridge to the following stage. These 4 stages include Stage 1, restoring hope, Stage 2, the new beginning, Stage 3, the montage, and Stage 4, coming home. Perhaps most importantly, each stage has 3 key learning goals and also 3 key roadblocks. These stages revealed themselves to me after years of working with literally thousands of people from all around the world. After enough experience, you begin to see patterns and trends, and you see where people triumph and what roadblocks can prevent them from moving forward. Now remember, just because you may have come off your benzo doesn't mean you automatically reach Stage 4, the final stage. Again, these are developmental stages, which is why someone can come off of their benzo and still be stuck in their recovery. In fact, it's entirely possible to come off of your benzo and be stuck in Stage 1. Here are some other features the online Benzo Recovery School offers. Aside from being a school, it's also a positive focused support group. And believe me when I tell you, my students are a different breed of benzo warriors. They are wise, they are driven, and they understand the mission. I, Coach Powers, will also be doing live video Q&A weekly in the community, talking, teaching, and answering questions from all of you. There will be downloadable resources such as a rumination and exposure therapy log, templates for checklists, and much more. Additionally, there will be new benzo sleep affirmation videos exclusive for the school, as well as new and early original content. There will be a regular benzo blog, benzo-related news, and even a private early screening for my benzo recovery feature film, Lake of Fire. All of this and only for a special introductory rate of $30 monthly while time lasts. So come join the positive community and let's work together on facilitating our recovery. See you there.